Hi there, this is Sherry Hughes. I'm a paper crafter and I am showcasing an exclusive paper from Country Craft Creations called Love Letters. I designed this little mini portfolio to capture the really softness of that collection. This is what we're going to be making today. This is a complete tutorial and you'll have to bear with me because this is my very first tutorial. I'll give you a look at this one, then I'll share with you the idea. I'm going to share with you the papers. Isn't that lovely? Now, when we open it up, it has a nice interior pocket with a gusset with a magnet closure. It has a notepad on the back, which is easily replaceable when you need to replace it because you filled it up. So that's going to be our project today. Now we're going to be utilizing the Love Letters collection from Country Craft Creations. This is the paper itself. Absolutely gorgeous. It even comes with some cut-aparts that will make it lovely to use for any kind of scrapbooking project. And this is my sample board. I always cut a sample board of each collection 2 by 6 inches so I can kind of get an idea visually of what the different papers look like so I can mix and match them the way I like. Plus, if I run out of one, I know which collection I got it out of, so it helps me remember. But the Love Letters collection, big packet of paper, by the way. Very large. In fact, I'm still using my very first collection, and I've made 4 books so far. So I'll give you some sneak peeks. But the paper itself is fantastic for different color schemes. In fact, here's the one we're doing today. Here's a sneak peek at one of the ones I'm going to be doing soon. It's in the grays. And then I did a game book. I was going to show it to you, but it's in the brown color, so it's a very diversified pack of paper. And I'll give you the link below for the Country Craft Creations to get that. So let's get started. I've written down all the measurements for you here on a little pad of paper. I'll also post that in a guide, but you can see the measurements as I go along today. First, you're going to need 2 chipboard pieces cut 6 by 8.5. You're going to need to use some double stick adhesive paper to be able to mat onto your chipboard. So let's go ahead and get started. I use a score pal when I'm attaching my double-sided adhesive to my chipboard because it just makes it easy to be able to guide the paper. So I line it up. Hopefully my head won't be in the shot. I stick it down along the top. I smooth it out. And then I take my burnishing tool and I press it down firmly. Okay, now my chipboard has an adhesive back to it. I can remove that backing. If I had fingernails. Okay, I'll do like most people and use this, the pokey tool, and peel that off. Okay. Now we're also going to need a piece of chipboard that's 1 1/4 inches by 8.5. This is going to be the spine of our book. So we're going to put it down, same way, peel off our backing. I can get it off. Here we go. And attach that to our chipboard as well. Oops, got it a little crooked. And then trim any excess off of that. Okay, and let's pull the backing off of it with our pokey tool. Okay, peel off that excess. And now we had an adhesive backed piece of chipboard for our spine. So let's cover this. We're going to cover our chipboard with artisan cardstock. Again, it's an exclusive paper available at Country Craft Creations. It's a very pliable cardstock. It's thick, but it's not so thick that it will actually bend and mold to your needs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my chipboard, my cardstock on here. Then I'm going to use a couple of shims. These are my 1-inch shims. These are available at Country Craft Creations as well. And I'm going to take the sticky side of my chipboard, line it up with my shims, so I get a nice straight even press. Now why am I doing this? I want to have a 1-inch border all the way around evenly, so when I get ready to miter these corners, they'll be even and the paper will look beautifully uniform. All right, now that's how we mount the paper to this. Now let's go ahead and mount the paper to our spine. And our spine is cut 4 1/4 inches by 10 1/2. Now, for the spine, if you'll notice, we're not going to be giving an inch border on the sides. We're actually giving 1 1/2 inches. So what we do is we line up the 1-inch shim at the top, on top of the cardstock. Then we line up the 1 1/2-inch shim. Then we stick the chipboard down just like we did before. Remove our shims, and there you go. You've got it centered exactly where it needs to be. I'm gonna move this out of the way. Now, just so that you know, I went ahead for time's sake and covered one like this. So I only did one of the chipboards in front of the camera. The other one I've already got done. I'm going to show you how you cover it like this. Isn't that pretty? All right. To do it, what we're going to do is we're going to take our burnishing tool. I'm going to flip this over, and I like to go around the edge and lightly crease it. You know, white and natural are very hard to see on the camera because there isn't much of a definition of line. Let me try reducing one light and see if it makes it any better. A little bit. You can see now where there's a shadow. That gives me my beginning fold, and I'm just kind of pressing down onto my mat and creasing it like this. Okay, on all 4 sides. Now I'm actually going to take my burnishing tool, run it up along the side there, and using the rounded edge, I'm going to press that down. So I get a nice tight fit. Okay, now we're going to go to the other side. Again, we're going to run it up along the edge, bring it over, press those down firmly. Make sure that's nice and burnished. Now I'm going to go to the end. Again, bring it over, press it down firmly. One more time. Just like that. All right. Now that I've got all my edges done and I've got a nice crisp edge on the outside, I'm going to take some score tape, 1/4 inch. Now, to cover this and to miter the corners and to put it down, there are a million different ways. This is the best way that I have found. Let me cut off that. Kind of taken what I've seen from Michelle Allen and a few others to kind of get an idea of what's the best way to do it. I put down my double stick tape. I put it on the chipboard itself. Let me hold it up so you can see it there. I put it on the chipboard itself, right up along the edge, and then I put it on the flap, but I leave about 1/8 of an inch border so I can put just a hairline piece of glue there. Doesn't matter what it looks like on the edge because I'm going to cut this corner out in a moment. So let's go through and put our score tape down all the way around that same way. I use a 1/4 inch only because this score tape is the best in the business. It's not going to pull off. It's going to be durable. It's going to last you and last you and last you. I don't mind wasting it because I feel like I'm getting my money's worth out of it. So I'm very generous with it. All right, now, there we go. So if I were to go ahead and add the glue now, that might pull off. So what I do is I actually burnish it down firmly. All the way around. Then I'm going to glue the 2 long sides first. So I'm going to pull my tape off. Of that. I'm going to go ahead and cut my miter before I pull any more tape off. That would probably be a good idea. I maybe should have done that first. But I'm just going to cut a slight miter. Can you see there? That was a little bit much. I can tell I'm nervous. So I'm going to cut all 4 of those. I'm cutting right over that tape, yes. All right. Now then, I'm going to pull the tape off the 2 long sides. And I'm going to apply my glue. I'm going to put a very thin piece of glue right down. Hold it up so you can see it. I'm going to put a very thin piece right down along that edge. I'm going to put an even lighter bit of glue right up here. It's hard to do this holding it up. Okay, and then I'm going to go back in and do the regular glue business where you go back and forth with a zigzag pattern. And now we're going to burnish that over. If you have excess glue come out, you can take a piece of lint-free cloth or paper towel. I've got that nicely burnished down, good and smooth. Now I'm going to do the other side the same way. I'm going to go down through there with a little bit of glue. Could go right down through there with a little bit of glue. Do my zigzag dance. Bring this over. I always start in the middle because I find that if there's any excess, it needs to come out the edge, not be bowled up in the very middle. And then get it off of your bone folder there. And now I'm going to pull the tape off my ends. Repeat the same exact thing. I see where I might have cut that one wrong. Is that correct grammar? I don't think it is. Let me go in here and cut that. There we go. You got to have one big boo-boo in your video or nobody will laugh. Okay, and trust me, I love laughing at myself because I get very tongue-tied and I substitute words by accident in my vocabulary. I guess it's because I'm old, folks. And so I'm never really convinced I'm going to do a perfect video, but I don't mind a bit making myself comfortable on camera by laughing at my mistakes. I'm an old hat for teaching classes, and if you can't laugh at yourself in your class, then, hey, you lose your audience. They've got to have a little bit of personality. Okay, now, you can see it's nice and pretty. If you have a couple of spots that are what I call little hairies, where it just comes out just a smidgen on there. I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm just kind of trimming off those little points. You can tuck them in, which works extremely well. But if you cut just right, you won't cut down to the chipboard itself. Now, one last thing I've got to do on my cover. I always take my burnishing tool and I scrape it along the edge very, very softly because I want to square it up. Just like that. All right. Now we're going to apply the spine to our covers. So we have our two decorative covers ready to go. And we're going to put in between them the spine. So let's see where we are with the spine. Okay. Now, on the spine, I'm going to do a similar process where I'm going to bend it over, teach that paper to bend a little, bend it, okay, and on these long sides, I'll be honest with you guys, I try to teach it to bend in both directions because this is the joint of my book. This is what's going to make it lay flat. So I use the bone folder to help me get a nice crease, and I bend that back and forth till it's pretty pliable. So let's do this side as well. Are you still with me, guys? Hope so. I love doing this. I'm a stamper by trade and die cutter for paper crafts, but I have fallen in love with all of Tamara's papers. Can't get enough of them and just want to share that. Okay, now there's my spine piece. Can you see it all right? We're going to take it now and we're going to fold this direction. I keep going off camera. Sorry, guys. That's because I'm a newbie at this. It ain't easy. You need to give it a shot. You'll be surprised. I know when I watch the playback, I'm going to say, I said that. I did that. Oh, how embarrassing. All right. So I'm creasing this very well. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to adhere these two pieces down. So to do that, I'm going to put a little bit of score tape and a little bit of glue on there. So I'm going to take my score tape. Do a very similar process to what I did before. Alrighty. Now I'm going to take my glue, but before I do that, I better pull this off. What am I forgetting, guys? I'm forgetting to burnish that tape. Make sure it stays on there good. I know I'm hiding this from you. I'm sorry. See, I've got it, the score tape here and the score tape along there. I'm going to take it off of both ends. Just like that. Now to apply the glue, I'm going to apply a little bit right here in this groove. And on the other side, I'm going to apply it straight across. Go up. And then apply glue the rest of the way. But I want to make sure I have a little bit up there on that end. Now, I simply fold this over. There we go. Rub off the excess glue. Okay. Kind of square that off up there. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just a little bit on the sides to make sure it adheres. Across the top. Now we're going to bend this over just like that. Burnish it good. Wipe off any excess. Okay, now your spine should bend nicely at this point. But we've got to still go in here and miter this just a smidgen. From that corner there, slightly over, I'm mitering it. Just like that. I'm going to do it on the other end. Get it a little closer. Went too far away there. And now, same thing there. Okay, now that I've got my edges mitered, let me move all of this out of the way. I want to go back and I want to, one last time, square off these sides. Okay, now we're going to apply this to our spine and to our front and back covers. Now to do that, I take my score pal and I turn it sideways. I like to work with this edge right down here. I pull to me, which makes it easier. So we're going to be attaching the spine to our front and our back. Okay? Now this one, I always try to pick out the prettiest for my front. Gosh, I don't see any difference. None whatsoever. So, doesn't really matter. All right. And we're going to be sliding this right up to that spine's edge. Okay? So, we're going to be applying glue to this. This does not go on the outside. It goes on the inside to anchor that spine down so it bends like that. Okay? And the objective of it is to have this look where you don't have it snug so tight that you can't bend it, but a nice, neat look right there on the end. That's the objective of what you're wanting to have here. Okay? So, I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to go ahead and apply the glue to this to put down and the tape because I use both. I'm going to use a little bit of tape just to give me a guideline, and I'm going to keep it 1/4 of an inch in from that edge. And I'm going to put it about 1/8 of an inch in from that edge. Again, miter that down so that it won't come loose. pull the excess off and add your glue to it. I'm just going to do one side at a time. I know y'all are going to get, I know y'all are going to get tired of seeing the top of my head. I'm going to apply just a little bit of glue through here. Enough that it's going to hold nicely, but I don't want it to be visible from the front. Then I'm going to apply my glue here. And one last line of glue right there. Now the tricky part is taking this and lining it up with your cover. Now, pardon my head, but I'm probably going to get it in the frame. I want it to slide right beside it and then lay this down. I want to make sure it's even as I can get it. And if it's not, this is my first video, guys. You're going to forgive me, right? All right. So that my spine now has a nice, neat look to the edge. That's what I'm looking for. Can you see it all right? Is it focusing? Okay. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to put the score tape down a little ways from the edge there. And then at least 1/4 inch here on this side. I sure don't want that to show. Burnish it down. Pull the tape back off. Add your glue. Again, do not put it too close to that spine. I was asked if I glue on top of the tape. No, I don't. If it happens to go on the tape, I'm not going to worry about it, but I try not to. All right, now this time, I've got this lined up down here. I'm going to see if I can put this right on top of that, slide it off, and then lay that down so that it's nice and flat. Let's remove this score pile so you can see it. Okay. So now you can see I've got my mats pretty darn close. My book folds nice and easy. And look at your edge. Doesn't that look neat? Excellent job, guys. We did good. All right, now that we've got the cover done, let's cover this spine. To cover the spine, we're going to use a piece of paper that is 5 3/8 by 8 3/8. Let me move this over here and see if y'all can see it a little better. Is that better? 5 3/8 by 8 3/8. And we're going to score it on the 2 and the 3/8. So it's cut to 5 3/8 by 8 3/8. And on the shorter side at the top, you're going to actually score it at the 2-inch mark. And again at the 3 3/8. Ta-da! Now, it's going to fit right on top of our spine there, just like that. You don't need to miter it. You don't need to do anything. All we need to do is to kind of train it to bend a little. So I go ahead and use my bone folder to make that crease, because I want it to be trained to be able to lay flat. Just like that. Then, when the book closes, this cover will fit down in there. So, now I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to put score tape here, score tape here, score tape here, score tape. Let's do it over here. And we'll glue the rest. What do? We burnish that down. Remove the tape backings. Add some glue. Now, don't put glue right on that seam there because that's where we fold, remember? So we're going to back it in just a little here. Put a little bit on the outside. Zigzag on the inside. Go down through here. Okay. Again, not down in the crevice. Glue that. And I use art glitter glue because there is nothing else that binds these books better permanently. I just love it. Okay, pardon the headshot for a moment. I gotta line this baby up. It's got to go in there just right. How do I determine that? I'm probably going to raise that up like that. And raise this one up like that. And press her down. Well, I still got it crooked, didn't I? Let's see if I can adjust it a little. Well, I didn't do a perfect job, but guys, that's the best I'm going to do at this point. You know what? Nobody's even going to notice it when we cover it. And I do want to take my bone folder, being careful not to tear the paper, and go in there and crease it just a little bit more. Ta-da! Excellent. We've gotten that done. Now, for the pages, I'm going to go ahead and cover the inside of this spine real quick. And I actually cut gold, and then I cut a little piece of the decorative paper to go on top of that. Let's see, the gold is cut 1 1/4 inches by 8 3/8, and then I cut the matte by 1 1/8. Let's write that down. 1 1/8 by 8 1/4. Okay, that way you have your measurements. Now, I'm a stickler. Everybody does things differently, but I tend to glue my decorative paper down to the mat, then put it in the book. So what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to flip over my decorative paper. Either side would have been beautiful. I just thought I would do a little soft pink and gold here just to kind of tie it all together. Excellent. Burnish that down. Now let's see if it fits well. Oh, it does, so we can put that in there. And mat that right here. Easy peasy. Burnish that baby down. Wasn't that easy? All right, now let's go ahead and do the front inside cover. Let's see, those are the outside covers. Let's do the front inside cover here, which will be this piece right here. So we can glue it down in place. I'm saving the outside to the end because we've got to talk about embellishments and stuff. And I'm going to glue this right here. And I see the sun has moved in on me, and I'm going to have to go and close a curtain in just a moment. Okay. I've got that one down. Alrighty. And we're going to be putting a pocket over this back piece. So let me grab the things that we need and I'll be right back. All right, now we're going to go ahead and decorate the back of our cover. We've got the front cover in, we've got the back cover in. The inside cover, if you have a mat, would be the 5 7/8 by 8 3/8. But I did not put a mat, I just used decorative paper there. And I'm going to use decorative paper here as well. We're going to add some glue along this edge, just like this. And glue this down to the back cover. Burnish it. All right, so our book is coming along nicely, very nicely. Now let's turn it over and do the back, which is also our front, back, and the middle spine. For the very back, I'm going to be using some decorative paper from the same collection, matting it and gluing it down. Now, what I did on mine, if you'll notice, I actually rounded all of the corners to kind of give it a finished and soft look. I used this little punch, which I absolutely love. It has 3 different sizes within one punch. And this larger one is a 10 millimeter. And I turn it upside down so I can see what I'm doing. And it's so easy to punch. It's one finger motion. If you haven't gotten one of these at Country Craft Creations, you really need to get one. I've used this one to death. I counted the other day to see how many corner rounding punches I had, and I had over 37. I stopped at that point because they were getting to the point where I don't think they work. I've been collecting them for 30 years. You wouldn't think there are that many different decorative corners. So now I'm going to tape that on top of it. I'm going to quickly do it so that you're not kept waiting. Here's some of those cut aparts I was telling you about within the Love Letters collection. I'm using the back of that sheet. Okay. I'm going to stick this down to my gold. And I am trying my best to line this up. It's hard to do when I can't lean over it because of the camera. So let me try again. Plus, I think it's one of those things, if you're on camera, it goes wrong. If you're not trying to explain or show it to somebody, it goes correctly. So now we're going to glue the back part. I'm going to do a real fast job of the glue in here. Take your time when you're doing yours so that you can get it on there very nice and smoothly. And this is also the same measurements for the outside covers. I didn't flip it for you. I guess I need to do that. Let me get this on first. Voila. And if I can find it. I went out of order. And we'll get there eventually. Or not. All right, so you're going to need a cover for the front and another cover for the mat, so it'd be 2 of each of these pieces. 5 7/8 by 8 3/8 is going to be your gold pearl mat. And then your decorative paper from the Love Letters collection is 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. Now I did that for both the front and the back covers. So let me go ahead and finish rounding the corners here. Appreciate you bearing with my inexperience here as I go through this. Okay, and then let's do the same with the gold. And while we're punching corners, I'm going to go ahead and do the 2 little pieces for the spine. The spine measurements are 1 1/4 for the cardstock by 8 3/8. Again, I'm using that same size of paper punch, which is the 10 millimeters. Alrighty, and then the decorative paper is 1 1/8 by 8 1/4. This is for the outside spine cover. All right, we're done with the paper cutter for right this second. Okay, a paper rounder, I should say. All right, now let's quickly put our decorative piece of paper on our spine. Glue that down. Glue this down. Again, burnish. Glue this on the back. Sorry, as you can tell, I have a little furry friend underneath me. Just woke up from an afternoon nap and flapping those ears, getting started, getting ready for their evening meal. I'm going to put that down right there, burnish it, glue this piece down to the front mat, and I'm stopping before I attach those 2, and I'll show you why at the end when we decorate the outside. I'm going to hold off on actually attaching these 2 pieces to the front cover just yet, but I do want to get them attached. So you have all your measurements here. Isn't that turning out pretty? And you'll notice my book is laying perfectly flat. That spine worked beautifully. And that's what our book looks like so far. All right, now let's get the pockets done that go on the inside. All right, I'm set up now to cut the cardstock. We're actually going to cut it 6 5/8 by 7. Again, I'm using the Artisan Natural cardstock. So let's see how wide this is. 6 5/8. 6 1/2. There's 6 and, oh good, it's already cut 6 5/8 by 7. Okay. All right, now we're going to score this on the score pal on the 6 5/8 inch side. We're going to score that at a 1/2 inch. And of course, you can do it if you want to without turning it, but I always just turn it to make it easy for everybody that doesn't want to worry about measurements. We've got a 1/2 inch on both sides scored. Now we're going to turn it on the long side and just do one more score of a 1/2 inch, just like that. Okay. And that's going to make our pocket. And for the decorative mat to go on that pocket, I have cut it to be 5 1/2 by 6 3/8. That's 5.5 by 6 3/8. Okay, so we're going to put that to the side. I'm going to now score all of my little lines, burnish them down. Okay, do a little mitering. I'm going to take my scissors and cut right across through there, right to the edge of my X. I'm going to miter the tops. That's what it's going to look like. Okay. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to take a piece of Scotch tape and I'm sticking it down to this flap. Now, you're going to say, why? Somebody showed me this. It made sense. It may have been Tamara. But that way, when I slide my pad in, it doesn't catch on that lip at the bottom. So now, all my little corners are done. I am going to take my glue, and I'm going to apply glue to each of these flaps, if I haven't let it dry. All right, down here at the bottom too. Now I'm going to use clips to hold this in place while it dries after I attach it to the book. Okay, so you need to have some clips available. I'm going to wipe this off so I won't get it on my book. Bring my book back in. Get out a few clips. Okay. And I'm going to hold this down and bring it on down. You can attach it wherever you think you want it. I'm just doing it slightly towards the bottom there. And I'm going to burnish it. And I'm going to attach with some clamps right here and right here. Don't have to do it for long, just long enough to make sure that glue holds those flaps down. Okay, and while I'm waiting on that to dry, I'll go ahead and attach this, the decorative mat to go on top of it. Remove my clamps. And attach this down on top of my pocket, just like that. It's not going to have a big margin on it. It's going to have just a little bit of a margin. And in mine, may not have any at all if I don't get it to move. Okay, try that again. See, you're not the only one that has this happen to them. All of us have this little bit of a problem getting it straight. It has to be eyeballed. All right, I'm going to put it flush to the bottom as much as I can and pull it up. Now, that's much better. All right, my pad's going to go down in this pocket here. Okay, so I don't want to strain it right now because it might pull it apart. So I'm going to leave it just like it is for a few minutes. Now, let's do the front pocket. To do the front pocket, we have to cut our paper. And I'm going to give you those measurements. It's a gusseted pocket, and the measurements for that are going to be, for your cardstock, 11 1/4 inches by 11 3/4 inches. And we're going to score that on the 11 1/4 inch side at the top. So let's put our score pal in. Just like this. Put our 11 1/4 edge up at the top. Take our scoring tool. We're going to score this at a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1 1/2 inch. We're going to flip it completely around. Again, score at the 1/2 inch, score at the 1 inch, oops, and score at the 1 1/2 inch. So you'll have 3 score marks on both ends. Now we're going to turn it to where we have the 11 3/4 inch side up at the top, and we're going to score at 4 inches, score at 9 inches, and again at a 9 1/4 inches. All right. This is going to make the gusseted pocket. Now, if you can see up here along this edge, this is the top of the pocket, and this is the bottom of the pocket. The wide part is the bottom of the pocket, okay? So, what we're going to do is we're going to actually take a pencil, well, basically, I want you to cut out a section. So let me get a marker here so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to cut down this line and over to that line. I'm going to cut down this line and over to that line. So I'm cutting out the 3 tabs that we did. Okay? So I'm going to cut along the 4-inch score line. And then I'm going to cut all the way to the top. And the top is going to be where you have the 2 score lines together. That's the top. So, cut a straight line down. Help if I did it on camera, wouldn't it, guys? You can tell I don't normally use scissors. I use a cutter. I'm not very good at this cutting a straight line without my cutter. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to cut this over to the inside of those 3 markings. Excellent. Are you with me? Now we do have one more thing to cut. We have to cut and miter our corners. So I'm going to cut just like that. I'm going to cut just like that. And I'm going to miter on the other side. Doesn't have to be a big miter. Whatever you're comfortable with. All right, let me bring this up so you can see. Those are the 3 lines. And I've mitered it up to where you can see the corners of the paper there. Okay? Now, I'm going to do a real easy thing. I'm going to fold my edge in right here. I'm going to burnish it like that. I'm going to fold it back. I'm going to burnish it again. I'm going to fold it again. And that is going to be my gusseted pleat. Leave that alone. Go to my other side. Fold it in. Burnish it. I've got glue all over my fingers, guys, and they're sticking to the paper. Fold this back. Burnish it. Again. All right. That's your gusseted edge. So what we're going to do next is we're going to fold this over like this. You can see how that's going to attach to there. I'm now going to fold down my flap. The reason why we've got those 2 score lines so close together is because if you start filling that pocket up, you're going to need a little bit more wiggle room on your flap here. So when this all folds together, see how your little flap's going to go? All right. Now, before I do anything else and forget it, I want to go through and I want to round the corners of the top of my flap. Okay. I am now going to glue this down to here. And I will use the binding clips again to make it easy for me to be able to keep it clamped while the glue dries. So let me get my glue. I'm going to go ahead and apply the glue only to the top accordion here, only to this last pleat, and I'm going to do it on both sides. If I get anywhere else, I got to wipe it off. And then I'm going to take this, hold it down tight, press it flat, burnish it, clamp it, and wait for that to dry. Okay? While we're waiting on that to dry, let's go ahead and decorate the top of this and the front of it while we have a chance. So let's flip it over and do the front part. See if I can find the measurements for that. Now, you're going to be putting magnets on this to be a closure. So let's take our magnets. You need two, a positive and a negative. You're going to let them come together with the paper on the outside because that's got adhesive on it. Take the tape off of your magnet to expose the adhesive. All right, now they're stuck together. So what I'm going to do, I'm sorry, you're going to flip it back over. You're going to put it right here in the middle of your flap, and you're also going to put it right in the middle of the bottom. So I'm going to attach it on the outside of the pocket. I'm going to put it on the inside of the flap. So when I close this, the pocket, it will automatically line them up perfectly. Again, put the magnet right here on the bottom of your pocket, and when you close the top one, it will place it, then push them down. Now what I do is I take my double stick tape in 1/2 inch, I cut a piece of it, and I put that over my magnet. That magnet's probably not going to go anywhere, but I still want to make it a smooth transition for the paper to get over it. So it helps. I can't remember who showed that on a video, but somebody came up with that idea, and it was brilliant. All right, now my magnets are attached. We're doing good, guys. All right. On the bottom of the front, that piece of paper is going to be cut to this size, which is 8 3/4, 8 by 3 3/4. The piece that's going to slip into the pocket is going to be cut 8 by 1 1/2. So I have all my little pieces here. I'm going to set that one to the side. And I cut this one 8 2 1/4 to go up here. Okay. And then I also cut another 8 2 1/4 to go out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round those corners, one at the top. Be mindful that some of this pattern paper has writing on it, so you don't really want to attach your paper upside down if you can help it. So let me go through and do the front and the bottom. Okay. All right, what I did was I cut the one that is 2 1/4 by 8 inches that I'm going to put on the flap. And then I cut the one that's 2 1/4 by 8 inches that goes under the flap. I rounded the corners there. So let's go ahead and attach those down by using the glue. All right, and before I stick that down, I'm going to remove that tape, and I'm going to place this paper directly over the magnet to cover it. Burnish that down. I'm kind of holding it for a moment around that magnet so it won't come back up. Excellent. I think we're okay on the pocket, so I can take those off now. And we can go ahead and apply this to the bottom. So let's go ahead and do that. I forget to make sure I'm in the middle of the camera. So I apologize if I've come off the camera screen some. Don't mean to. Okay, that goes like that. And we'll burnish it down. Looking good. Let's slide our little piece of paper that goes inside. I did this is that gold pearl. I love that color. Isn't that awesome? I'm going to slide it in and glue it, but I'm not going to do it over that hinge. That flat part, I want to leave that 1/4 inch piece there. So I'm just going to quickly add some glue and slide that in my pocket. We're about done, guys. Yeah. Slide this right in my pocket over the pleat. Pull it back up a little bit. Make sure it's nice and centered. Oh, that's pretty, guys. I love that paper. It's just so pretty. It'd be better if I got it lined up. I know you don't want me to whisper, but okay. Now that's done. Let's take this, lay it out flat. Let's glue this one in place. Remember, I rounded the corners already on that one. Alrighty, and glue this down. Burnish. And to make that really pop, what I did was I took a little bit of the gold and a piece of the matte, the same decorative paper that I used for the matting on that flap is what I meant to say. I'm going to attach those two. Okay. Just like that. Take it all the way to the end and make it flush. Perfect. Good. Burnish it down. Okay. I've got just a hair too long there, so I'm going to clip that off. Just a smidgen. Now I'm going to take this and stick it down on top of the pocket piece here, and it just kind of breaks it up a little bit. It gives it more of a decorative edge. See? Then, after we get our pocket completed, we're going to attach it in here. You need to be aware that you do not want to get it close to where the pocket, where this score line is for the crease. It won't fold correctly, so I always bring it up to where I've got the matting and go from there. It's one good reason for lining this interior page. You can use it as a guide. And then I'm just going to take glue, apply a nice generous portion of it. Like so. I'm going to turn it around because I do better when it's facing me. And line that up to my bottom piece there. Line that up. And we are done with the inside of our book. Oh, we gotta do the mat on the pad. Let me do that real quick. If you do, to wrap the pad, which we have to do, it's not a complete notepad till we do that. You're going to cut it 5 inches by 3, and you're going to score it on this 3-inch side at the 7/8 inch and again at the 1 1/8 inch. Fold it just like that. Apply the glue. Right on top of your pad, and if you scored it at the 7/8 inch and at the 1 1/8 inch, that generally works for most notepads. You may have to adjust that a smidgen depending on the width of your notepad across the top. Okay, and now we just insert this into here, and that Scotch tape that we did earlier makes it go in nice and snug at the bottom. And now we have the inside completed except for embellishments. So let me get things ready for our cover and we'll be right back. All right, we're ready now to complete the cover and the embellishments on our book. We're going to go back to the original and take a look at it. Do you notice how I've got the lace on here? All right, that lace is not cut at this end and cut at that end. It's actually wrapped around behind. So what I tend to do is I take my cover after I've attached the decorative paper, I turn it over, and then I attach mounting foam. And I do the entire back of it. With mounting foam, and I have it in a wide roll. You can use thin strips, but I just simply take it and apply it onto my cover. And I piece it. Mounting foam does come in different widths. This is actually a much thinner width than most people have. You can use 1/8 inch, you can use 1/16 of an inch, and you can use 1/32 of an inch, whatever you happen to have. I'm very partial to this one because it gives a nice, smooth, level, even piece of paper after I apply it. But what I was going to show you, that lace that was on here, I actually did that. Let me turn it around so it's not upside down. And I'm going to take the strip off of this to there. I'm going to take the strip off to right there. I'm not going to pull the rest of this adhesive off because I want to decorate this complete thing before I put it on my book. Nothing worse than to get your book finished, be decorating it, and something happens. So I always do this first. Now I'm going to take my lace. This is out of my private stash. It's something I probably picked up at Hobby Lobby or Michael's or AC Moore, someplace like that. I'm going to cut it so that I have enough left that I can wrap it around my book. So I'm going to take it and wrap it around, and it's going to stick to that mounting foam. I'm going to go ahead and pull it nice and taut, wrap it around, and stick it on the other side. Now, if it's not straight, I can pull it back off and move it. So let me show that to you. See how pretty that is? And it does a nice job of edging it. And then on the back, you can see where I actually stuck it to the mounting foam. Isn't that a neat trick? Plus, when you're working with it, that extra mounting foam kind of holds it in place so it doesn't walk around the table on you. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my embellishment on. I'm going to use, this is one of the cut-aparts from the Love Letters collection. It's very, very pretty. Same paper, but a different size, and it's got a pretty stitched edge to it. Now, if you take that same little corner rounder that we used a while ago, but this time use the smallest corner rounder, you can make that edge around that tag perfectly. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm punching out my little edges. Now my tag has a perfect shape. See? All right. So I'm going to turn this over, take my mounting foam once again. That's why I cut a big piece a second ago. I wanted enough to do a couple of things. One more little piece here. Just like that. Now, this is what I'm going to put right there. Okay? And to do that, I'm going to stick it down right now before I do anything else. Let me burnish it just once. I can spend an hour making a book, 2 hours making a book, but I might spend 6 hours decorating the outside of it. That is just something that's hard for me. So I'm going to tilt it kind of like that and press it down. Now, for the bow, if you noticed, I did a little seam binding bow and glued it in place, but I had a pretty little satin flower there. Okay, that satin flower and these actually came from a yard of wedding ribbon. It's wedding trim to go on a wedding dress, and I purchased it by the yard. It was like $12, $15 for a yard, and I got maybe 30 flowers on the yard. And I cut them apart. As you can see here, I take and cut there, not cutting the cord that's going to hold all of it together. And what I did that made this look kind of pretty was when I cut it, I left a little bit of that trim so I could hang it right there. Did that make sense? Let me do another one just to make sure that everybody's with me. I'm going to cut this, and I cut it up next to the next one. That way I have a little hanger here to hold my trim. And then I just glued it in place. Now I'll tell you this, most of this type of trim work is not expensively made. It looks like it might be, but it's truly not. So what happens, these pearls will fall off if you're not careful. So what I recommend you do is put some glue under them to hold them, because they will tumble off. I've already had them happen. So I'm going to glue those down, glue that in place. Now let's do the ribbon. Seam binding. Okay, I always use whatever colors matches. And if you have seam binding at home, I showed this in one of my videos. Let me show it to you again. I keep a color chart of all the seam binding ribbon. This is a swatch of each one, because I sometimes like to see what it would look like on the project with a bow. It gives me a nice image of what it's going to look like, whether I want to use the green or whether I want to use the pink. I can try out any color I wish that way. So I do the swatches. Then if I have empty swatches, I know I still need to purchase those, like the Fig Beige. But it helps me get a better visual of what I can do with it. Now, how do you do a bow? I do a bow with a bow maker. This is a little gadget I've been using for years. I simply take my sticks, stick it in there. I wrap my ribbon around it. Let's make that a little bit bigger bow. And then I tuck this. And when I tie it, my bow then looks really nice. And I can tape it or glue it right down to it. So let's glue that in place right on top of that ribbon. Okay. And now to hold that so that it won't go anywhere, I actually have a weighted bag that I use that's filled with rice to hold that in place and to absorb the moisture within it. All right, now let me gather the things that we need. Oh, I almost forgot. I want to stick some pearls in there too. So before that dries, let's do this. Let's glue down some pearls under that bow. Yeah, I'm glad I thought of it. Just like that. Okay, hold with my finger, drop my bag on. All right, I'm back. To do this lower cluster, while we wait on that to dry, I'll go over the dyes with you. I've actually used two different dyes from Country Craft Creations. One is the Heartfelt Leafy Accent. Love it. I thought they were going to be small, but they're not. Look how large the dyes are. They're huge. They really make a nice accent piece to go underneath your flowers. That's what I used on this to go under these little ribbons. So we're going to be putting that down there. Then to add to it, you always have to have a contrasting something mixed in so that your eyes are kind of pulled into the middle. I use the Cartabella Falling Branches leaf die set. Let me say it again. The Cartabella Falling Branches die set. And I did it in a soft gray, almost a brown gray. And I tied it in like that so that when the two of them are together, it looks really pretty. And then I cut apart my little flowers, laid those on there. Like that. I think I did two of the big ones. Let's do that. And that's how I got that effect to do this. So I simply glued those in place just like I laid it out there for you. Simple, easy peasy. And then after it dried, I stuck a little graphic 45 key in there to give it a good cluster, a Victorian look. I hope you can see that okay. And our top piece here is drying, but it's not quite dry just yet. And we'll attach that to the front of our book as soon as that dries. So I'm going to move that out of the way. I'm not going to try to tackle the flowers right now because I know they'll fall off. They'll have to dry as well. And we still have one thing left that I didn't do yet. When you get through, take some pearls, adhesive back pearls, dot those on your cover because they'll make it look softer. Anywhere you feel like you need a little accent. Of course, the rule of thumb is clusters of 3, bring the eyes in, so you may want to do that. Just do small clusters of them. And the last thing I'm going to do, on the inside, I'm going to decorate this, and I'm going to decorate this. I'm just going to trim some pretty lace ribbon that I found. Oh, it was very inexpensive. And I'm going to trim it to where it has a nice even edge. And I'm going to just simply glue that down right along through here. Wouldn't this make a wonderful shower gift for a bridal shower? Or maybe do the same thing for a baby shower so that she could have a way of keeping up with all the things that she needs to do as a new mom. This would make a lovely, lovely little thoughtful gift for just about anybody that likes to jot down notes, make their shopping list, any of that type of thing. Now, for the over the little pad here, I took 2 more of those gray tone leaves, and all I did was put a little bit of glue on the back of the leaf, stuck it down, put a little more glue on the back of the leaf, stick that down, and then I took a piece of vintage lace that I had. Let me pull this back down so you can see what I'm doing. That's a little too far. There we go. And I'm going to glue it by placing a little bit of glue on these flowers and stick that in place. Trim off whatever I don't like. And voila, we've got a beautiful, beautiful little mini portfolio. Isn't that great? Aren't you pleased and happy with that? I know I am. And I'm glad that you could join me today. I would love for you to follow me on YouTube. I want to thank you for watching this video. And I hope you'll give it a thumbs up. That's important to keep me on here. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so below where it says subscribe. Just click on the little box. And then if you would like to know when the next video is going to air, just click on the bell as well. I'll be sharing more short videos and tutorials soon, so don't forget to check out the links below to Country Craft Creations for your supplies and exclusive paper collections. Have a great day, folks, and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.